Okay, so let me get over here. Okay, I want to change this. There we go. Setting. Okay, so today we're going to go over some high protein hacks. Since there's not a ton of people on here, we'll probably get through this actually pretty quickly. Um, so the goal, obviously, we always hear we need to have protein, protein, protein. Part of that, and I know you know this, Kathy, a big part of that is because it fuels our body. Um, so protein builds muscles. It builds our enzymes, our neurotransmitters, and it also helps to balance our hormones. That's why it is such an important nutrient to be getting. Um, it also helps to balance your blood sugar. It reduces any cravings. It also helps to help improve your mood regulation as well. So those are all super duper important when you guys are on GLP-1s, especially. It's also just important anytime, anyway, obviously. A lot of people get focused on, or they get like really narrow minded on it has to be animal protein a lot. And animal protein's great. Most people eat animal protein or dairy. But people tend to forget that plants also have a lot of protein. And those are really, really good to add in because they also have a lot of fiber when you're eating the plants, which is when you're on a GLP-1 especially, that is so important to add those in as part of your protein sources because it's slowing down your digestive system, and animal proteins take a lot longer to break down than plant proteins. So, plant proteins your body can actually use quicker, and it's not just sitting in your gut. A lot of people that end up having gut issues, if when they're first starting a GLP-1 or constipation, a lot of times I think it is because they're just eating solid protein and they're not adding in all those vegetables. I know you're not like that. You actually eat really well. That meal you sent me from the farmer's market was amazing. I was like, oh my gosh, so yummy. Um,
The best part was the carrots and beets.
I bet those carrots looked amazing. I made that I posted on social media, but I did a orzo bowl the other day, and I was gonna do it Italian because orzo always strikes me as like Italian or Greek, but I did a Southwestern one, and I had gotten purple sweet potatoes at Trader Joe's. They only have them like this time of year, and they're just beautiful. And so I like air fried those, and then I did a can of black beans for protein. And then I also added in yummy carrots and from the farmer's market. And what else did I add in? Some tomatoes and some peppers. And then I topped it with a little bit of salsa and a tiny bit of vegan cheese, not much. But oh my goodness, it was so good. And then I put fresh arugula on the top. So it had about 18 grams of protein with everything combined, but it was amazing. It was so yummy. So that's a quick little easy peasy recipe. That one was a quick one. Um, so a couple things. Um, you want to I'm big on setting attention intentions. You guys all know that. Um, so one of the things I've kind of been researching as I've been going through I'm getting certified as an intuitive coach and also like hypnotherapy right now. But one of the big things is you can infuse your foods with good intentions. And it sounds funny, but food is energy, just like we're energy. And so I feel like, why not? It doesn't hurt anything, right? So, oh, there's one person that was going to be on Zoom. So, one of the ways we can do that, sorry, Um, one of the ways we can do that is simply by visualizing good intentions as we prepare our food. There's a lot of like I've known this for a long time, but had kind of forgotten about it, and it's super interesting. But when you actually, when you're cooking or you're even drinking water, if you really like utilize your intention of like this water is going to cleanse me, it's going to hydrate me, and you set that intention, it's funny. It does actually help your mood when you drink it. Same with meals. You know, there's that old school Italian family, right? Think of that, where you have all the Italian women cooking and they're just putting all this love into the food and all these kinds of things. That's exactly what they're doing. They're infusing that big family meal with love, with intention. And so you can do the same thing when you're on a weight loss journey of really infusing your food with good energy, and infusing it with, you know, vitality, and this is nourishing my body. And that's why we pray over our food if you're religious. All those things can help. And it also helps to just keep that really good vibe of you're nourishing your body, and it's and putting good things in your body. It's keeping that awareness, which is so important, especially long term. Since you're on a GLP-1, you don't have a lot of food noise, but the more you can create small habits now while you're using this as a tool is really important. And so, you know, habits take about 30 days. And if you maintain it over 12 weeks or longer while you're on a GLP-1, um, changing those daily habits make a big, big difference. So like you can always use a affirmation. I nourish my body with foods that fuel my purpose and radiate vitality. Um, or even just setting your intention for the day. Because if you set that as an intention for the day, your subconscious is going to help work with you to get the proper foods in your body. Okay. Um, so protein, most adults need about zero point 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of ideal body weight. Um, that's about how much protein intake people need. You want to try to split that across 3 to 4 meals. Typically, if you can get each meal targeting between 20 and 30 grams of protein, um, you're pretty well set up for the day. And then you can add small snacks or protein shakes to add into that. So that's the easiest way to look at it is build your meals or your plates around getting that 20 to 30 grams of protein per day. Um, Once you start doing that, you're going to feel it, especially in recovery. Like if you work out at all, which everybody should be doing strength training a little bit at least. But you're going to really feel that. And so the way to do that is a lot of people are like, well, I can't possibly eat this big slab of chicken. Well, you don't have to. That's the good news. You don't have to do that because there's lots of other fillers that you can add in that are going to add protein to get that 20 to 30 gram target. So, what is your current, what would you say is your current awareness, or do you have any aha moments about getting protein in, Kathy?
I always think it's difficult to get protein because I always think if you have some kind of meat, that's probably should be enough, but sometimes it isn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And so you got to kind of look elsewhere too.
right.
I always have to start the day with a protein shake to at least give me a little heads up with it.
Yeah, I do too, because it's an easy way. And I think it's really important, especially as we get older and especially for women, to have protein first thing in the morning. Other than water, that should actually be the first thing that goes in your body as some source of protein. Having 30 grams of protein first thing in the morning actually kickstarts your metabolism because your body's having to work to break down that protein, even if it's just a protein shake, because it takes longer to break down that protein. So that's an easy target. I've seen a lot of people. Actually, I was somebody else in coaching. I was talking to them the other day, and she's like, "You're gonna yell at me," and I was like, "What?" And she's like, About what you ate today," and she's like, "Yeah." And so, like, literally, she had had a protein shake and then a protein bar, and it was like 9 o'clock at night, and I was like, "Okay." Like that, like is not doing anything good for your body, and your body's going into starvation mode at that point. And you're really defeating the purpose of being on a GLP-1 if you're going to treat your body like that, honestly. Um, so protein is really hard for most people. And most people, a good average is like getting 100 grams a day, especially when you're not used to really kind of tracking that. So some easy ways to get your protein in first thing in the morning, obviously a protein shake, um, right when you get up before coffee, even unless you're not adding like creamers and that kind of stuff. But if you can get a protein shake in first thing in the morning after a good glass of water, that's going to be your best bet to give you that head start throughout the day. Um, so some other things that you can do is if you do a protein shake and then a couple hours later, you could do some eggs or mix some turkey sausage in there because it's a little bit lower fat. Or you could do Greek yogurt and then mix in a little bit of protein. That's an easy little extra protein, snack or breakfast type thing. Another good way to get proteins in is cook a batch of your meat proteins so that you can quickly add them into salads or taco salads, different things like that. If you kind of do batch cooking, I batch cook seitan a lot of the time, or I'll cook up a bunch of tofu, and then I can add it into different meals just because then it's quick, it's easy, because a lot of people go for certain things out of convenience. And you really kind of have to plan that you are eating because obviously, as we all know, we're not really caring about food lately. So you want to make sure you kind of map it out when you're on a GLP. Um, Another one is for you guys that are meat eaters using bone broth or collagen peptides, like powders. That is an instant protein boost as well. You can add bone broth or collagen peptides into like smoothies or soups, either one of those. That's an extra little protein boost that's super easy that you don't even have to like think about. Um, some good snacks that are high protein that you can add in between your meals would be like jerky. I do seitan jerky, which I make when I make my batches of seitan. Seitan is just vital wheat gluten, and it's actually super easy to make. It's vital wheat gluten, water, and seasoning, and then you kind of like knead it, and it's like a meat replacement. And so then you steam it for about an hour. That's the longest part is you have to steam it. And then past that, I like chop up or I'll tear off pieces to do like jerky. But a cup of seitan, not even a cup, like 5 ounces of seitan is 30 grams of protein. It's super high protein if you're not gluten sensitive. And even though a lot of people eat meat, I encourage them to maybe try it sometime because it's a super easy source of protein and it doesn't take very much to get that protein in. Um, a lot of the Morning Star, some of their stuff is made with seitan, but not all of it. Some of it's made with soy too. Um, Another like cottage cheese, super high in protein. Um, Tuna pouches with crackers or just tuna by itself. A lot of times I'll do, instead of like eggs, I'll take to work with me, I'll smash up tofu and I add in a little bit of vegan maize and mustard and some chopped up carrots. And sometimes I'll just eat that with like a couple crackers for work because that's high protein. You guys could do the same thing with like boiled eggs to make a quick little easy meal, or just take boiled eggs with you. Boiled eggs are kind of smelly, but um, any quick meals you can make. Um, Black beans are a really high source of protein. They're about 15 grams of protein per cup. So black beans is a good way if you're making tacos or you're making a taco salad and you add chicken and black beans onto it, you are living large because you have fiber from the black beans. And then you also have protein from the black beans. And then you also have hopefully some different vegetables added in. And then you also have, chicken, or if you wanted to do like a lean ground beef or turkey grounds or whatever, and you can make a quick taco salad with those pretty easily, especially if you meal prep even your bigger protein contents. Um, Taco bowls are always easy. I do a lot of bowls. I do a lot of quinoa bowls. So again, you could do any sort of bowl. Quinoa takes like 10 minutes to prepare. You can also make a big batch of it and chop cold vegetables into it to make salad, and add like your favorite dressing onto it. You could use it warm and do it like a Asian stir fry bowl, and add chicken or some stir fried veggies, different things like that, and use that instead of rice. Quinoa also it's one of the only foods that has all 9 amino acids on it. Um, and so quinoa is a really good, you can trade out your rice for quinoa, because it's also high in protein. It's got 10 grams of protein per cup. Um, so I do a lot of bowls because sometimes like you can just make them up so easily and you can do so many different varieties. You can have them cold, you can have them hot. And if you meal prep at all, or even just chopping up some veggies for the week so you can easily throw it in, you can throw them into a salad and have cold quinoa salad. So it's an easy one. Um, what is a simple protein you feel like you could try that maybe you haven't this week, do you think?
Mm.
Or that
I don't know.
maybe
I'll try
is
some of the,
easier?
yeah. I'll try some of the quinoa bowls and stuff. I have some of that in the cupboard.
Okay. In the Skool app, there is under the wellness transformation, if you go all the way down to bonuses, I did put some recipes, additional recipes in there, and I think there is a couple ones with the quinoa. Um, Rinsing the quinoa does make a difference. I get lazy and sometimes I don't, and it does taste better if you rinse it first.
Uh,
Um, some other different good combinations would be lentils. Not everybody likes lentils. Everybody's always like, yeah, lentils. The lentils have so many good nutrients. Lentils are literally so power packed of protein, and fiber. They have a ton of different vitamins in them. Lentils are kind of, I feel like, really looked over as a protein source. People always are concerned about the carbs, but your body processes legumes completely differently than it would like a bread. So, and your body still needs those carbs because what happens too, I've seen this happen with a lot of people that have especially been on GLP-1s, is they're not hungry, so all they're eating is protein, and then they're like, God, I'm so tired. Well, it's because you're not getting any of the other vital nutrients. Complex carbs give you energy. So those are important to also add in. So there's all different types of lentils. There's red lentils, there's brown lentils, there's green lentils, there's black lentils, and they're all a little bit different. If you're not a big lentil person because of the texture, I highly encourage you to try red lentils because red lentils you can cook down in like a stew or a soup, and they end up almost like they just make like almost like a creamy soup. Like the texture totally falls apart and it's super creamy. You can't even like really identify a red lentil. Um, you can also soak them in water for an hour. You could make them like a pizza crust. So you can soak them in water for an hour, and I'll find the recipe and I'll upload that when I upload this video too, and I'll put it in your folder as well. But you can soak them in water for about an hour and then rinse them really good. You always want to rinse lentils. You always want to soak them. And then you also always want to rinse them. Red lentils, you don't have to soak as long because they're a softer type of lentil. But you want to rinse them till the foaminess goes away. That foaminess is what causes people to have like gas. And so the more you rinse them, you won't really have any gas or anything like that if you rinse them well. But like for instance, you can take red lentils, soak them for an hour, rinse them, add about add water as you go and put them in a blender and put like Italian seasoning, a little bit of sea salt, and blend it up to almost like a thicker cake batter consistency. And if you pour it onto like a sheet pan and bake it for 10 minutes, it's literally, you can make it like a pizza crust. And it's actually really, really good. And then you just top whatever toppings you want on your pizza. And then you have a high protein pizza crust. So that one's a really kind of good little one. You can also make flatbreads with them. You can add them into meatloaf. I make a whole lentil loaf with them. And I use a little bit of oatmeal and red lentils. Um, and they're just great. And I put them in soups all the time. A lot of times I'll just do a ton of red lentils and then whatever vegetables that are starting to kind of like get in my fridge, I throw them all in the crock pot and then I leave for the day and it makes a really nice, creamy, yummy soup. Um, Trying tofu, tempeh, seitan, edamame. Costco's got those big bags of edamame um, in the freezer section, and edamame is super high in protein. So I a lot of times will just they come in microwavable pouches, and I literally will just microwave them and set them out on the table, um, and then that's what I snack on. Put a little bit of sea salt on them, and you have really high protein little snack, plus a lot of fiber in that as well. So that's a good like quick snack one. They also make I don't know if they're not freeze dried, but they've made them into like almost like a chippy consistency. Um, and they're called edamame snacks. You can order them on Amazon. Costco has plain ones that are sea salt, but you can order like flavored ones, which I like. They have like buffalo flavor, sriracha flavor, a bunch of different ones. Um, and those little pouches are like 9 grams of protein. And it's like a quick little crunchy, yummy snack. So that's a good one too. Um, Obviously, we already talked about quinoa, but amaranth is another really good one, or farro. If you've never tried either one of those, they kind of remind me of brown rice, sort of. They're like that chewier texture. Um, Super easy to make, just like rice, but they're a good base for the bowl, and they actually have a higher protein content. I'd have to look up, I don't know off the top of my head what the protein content is, but it's definitely a higher protein grain. And so those are kind of fun to try too. Um, Hemp hearts or hemp powder sounds weird, but hemp hearts, you can buy them at Costco. You can add those into smoothies. You can add them, I mostly add them into oatmeal, where I'll make little protein bars or balls with peanut butter, honey, chocolate chips, oatmeal, and then I add hemp hearts into it. I think it's like 2 tablespoons of hemp hearts is 10 grams of protein. They're really high in protein. And they don't have a whole lot of flavor. They're pretty neutral, kind of like oatmeal is, with they just don't have a lot of flavor. So you can kind of add them into anything. You can add them into, um, I mean, breads if you wanted to blend them up into like a powder or like a flour. The hemp hearts are a really good little added source of protein. Obviously, flax seeds good, chia seeds are good. Nutritional yeast to top dishes on high protein content for such a small amount. Just like 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast is like 5 grams of protein. So any of those when you're cooking to add into something is going to boost that protein up really easily. All those little things. Um, I do a lot of tofu scrambles. Um, you can use black salt and they'll taste like eggs, or you could add tofu into eggs. One of my other favorite hacks is getting silken tofu, and you can add it into soups. You can add them into smoothies, and it immediately bumps up your protein by quite a drastic amount. I want to say about 10 depending on how much you use. But if you're using like a cup of silken tofu, um, or a half cup, you're anywhere between 5 and 10 grams of protein. And it doesn't really have a taste. It's just going to take on any other taste and it's just going to make it more of a creamy texture. Um, I a lot of times will do sauces for pasta and I will blend the sauce in with, you want to blend the silken tofu first. Um, because then it breaks it down and it makes it really like a smooth, almost like creamy texture. And you could add it into a red sauce. You could add it into a cheese sauce or whatever it is. And then you have a higher protein sauce for your pasta. I also blend sometimes white beans with it and I add nutritional yeast. And if you add those two things, white beans with the tofu and some nutritional yeast, it makes you can make almost like a Alfredo sauce with it, with a little bit of lemon juice and garlic. And I've topped pasta with that, and that brings your protein content up for that pasta. And then if you're smart and you get a protein pasta, you're eating a meal that's like almost 50 grams of protein. So all those little hacks make a big difference in bumping up that protein every day. There's all I need to find the recipe. You can also make dough pretzels with silken tofu. You can also make chocolate pie for Thanksgiving with silken tofu. Blah, silken tofu, which is really good. If you Google silken tofu chocolate pie, it's super easy to make and it is so good. Nobody will even know it's made with tofu. It's amazing, actually. Um, so those are some of the little fun stuff. What have you been going to for protein? Like, what's your go-tos? Like, where is your struggle? So
Um,
let's talk
I,
about
I
your,
usually start, yeah, I start the morning with the protein shake and then 20 ounces of water. I guzzle down.
that's
And
good.
then I usually have a hard boiled egg somewhere about an hour or two after that.
Hmm.
For snack, I do turkey pepperoni or cheese stick, or sometimes I take turkey pepperoni and slice up the cheese stick and put a little piece of cheese on top of each turkey pepperoni and then cook it on the like in a pan for just like a minute or so the cheese melts on top and then the pepperoni gets a little crispy.
Yummy.
And I always just eat a regular meal with my husband, whatever I had made for him. A lot of times, if I make them any kind of like a potato or rice, I stay away from that. But I usually have like a meat and a vegetable. So I'm
That's good.
usually close to 100. Um, and if I'm close to 100, like I'm supposed to be, I don't want anything else.
Yeah, because you're pretty full
But I
after
did
that. But
notice,
if you're getting
yeah,
up to 100, that's not too bad, actually. Um,
I did notice that my sourdough has like 7 grams of protein
a lot of
for a
people
slice.
don't realize that there's other stuff. They get so focused on like the meats, they forget other
Mm-hmm.
things do have protein. Um, I was just looking up. I have a saved a list. I might have I think I gave you the high protein veggie one, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or we went at least went over it when we were talking
Yeah.
about.
So, like, I mean, broccoli is high protein, cauliflower is high protein, artichokes have protein. There's so many different veggies. So if you're doing like a stir fry and then you're adding in a ton of different veggies into that stir fry, it's actually probably higher protein than what you would it is. Oh my gosh, my dogs are playing right now. And well, the puppy, and she just hit the door and that scared me. So all of those are really good little extras to add in when you're cooking. And the other thing people get really hung up on is they're like, oh, well, I don't like XYZ. I don't like cauliflower. I don't like this or that. There's so many different ways to add those in without having them be like your typical vegetable, right? So I make a sauce. Like sometimes for like an extra taco sauce and it sounds like the weirdest thing. It's almost like a cheese sauce, but I'll do like a couple of potatoes, which potatoes also have a little bit of protein in them. And then I boil down the potatoes skinned and carrots. And then I'll add cauliflower because cauliflower has some protein in it too with the silken tofu. And I boil down all the vegetables. And then in the blender, I throw it with silken tofu and I add nutritional yeast and sometimes white beans, sometimes not, and lemon juice and a lot of garlic. And then I usually add in like some salsa, some chili powder, and it's almost like a nacho cheese dip. And it's so good, but it's high in protein. And then you just added all these other vegetables that you don't even know you're eating all these vegetables. So I am the queen of hiding vegetables and things. Like, um, but people just don't think about preparing them differently. One of my other clients I've been coaching, she was like, I don't like this and that. And I was like, okay, well, have you tried it prepared this way or that way? And then she texted me a few days later and it was cauliflower. And she was like, oh my gosh, I like cauliflower. I didn't think I would, but it was all about how it's being prepared, right? So textures
Hmm.
change really easily. Um, some other little ideas is doing like breakfast muffins where you can add in, you could use like an almond flour, which is higher in protein, and then you could add in like eggs or sausage, a little bit of cheese, and make some breakfast muffins. So it's like a quick little bite, but it's higher in protein, or maybe muffin's not the right word, but like biscuit. Um, so that would be something you could literally make and then freeze them individually. So you can just pop them in the microwave and go. And then it's like you have a whole little meal in a muffin or a biscuit, however you choose to make it. So those, and I'll try to find a recipe for that. I have a vegan one somewhere that I've made. And you just chop up like a sausage. I do vegan sausage, obviously. And then I do tofu in mine, but you just chop it all up. And then I usually do a little bit of vegetables and then make a batter and put it in muffin pans with the almond flour because almond flour has higher protein. And then you can just make little individual little protein muffins. Um, I'm a big on the peanut butter balls just because they're easy to make with the hemp hearts and all that kind of stuff because those have probably about 10 grams, if not more, of protein. I haven't figured that one out exactly, but I know at least it has 10 grams of protein. Sometimes I'll also add a little bit of protein powder into those as well to bump those up. But again, quick, you can have it for a snack. One ball will do you good, and that easily bumps up your protein. Um, Edamame actually has 17 grams of protein per cup. So not too bad. Edamame, I don't know if you like edamame, but I love it. Chickpeas is another easy protein. They're typically 15 grams per cup. Lentils are 18 grams per cup. Tofu's 18 grams per half cup. So there's some quick ideas. Quinoa, I guess 8 grams per cooked cup. Um, but I mean, that's an easy one to do. Super easy. Um, Let me get back to here. Hold on. Looking at my notes that I made. Um, Hummus is super easy to make if you've never made it on your own. It's actually super easy. It's just there's lots of good recipes out there for hummus. Um, but you could also add in some nutritional yeast into it to bump it up a little bit if you made it at home. It's basically chickpeas, so it's really high in protein. And then if you added in a little bit of nutritional yeast and then use tahini, is that how you say it? Yeah. And then olive oil. And then you can add in any vegetables or any seasoning you want and lemon juice. It has a lot of lemon juice and a lot of garlic in it. Protein pancakes, that's another easy peasy one. You can cook more than one batch, and you could also freeze those and pop them out and just add some protein powder in your pancakes. That's an easy one. You can also, I make a lot of like cookies. I blend up oatmeal to make an oat flour, so the texture is more like flour. because oatmeal has more protein than just like white flour. So like I even like make a whole cake out of oat flour and it's actually super phenomenal. Um, so what things do you think you want to try besides the quinoa? Like, are there any ideas that I threw out there that would be like, oh yeah, that might be an easy thing I can prep and like do later in the week?
Yeah, I actually did one of the things before you even mentioned it. But
Which one?
um, when I make taco salads and stuff, I with my ground beef, I add in black beans and corn because when I was raising teenage boys, I needed the hamburger to stretch further.
Heck
And
yeah.
so then I'd always add that. And I
Yep.
actually made that the beginning of last week and then had that. I made a little egg white omelet with it. And
Oh, good. Yeah, that's really, really good. Um, food like is also so healing. Black beans actually is also a natural anti-inflammatory, which is actually super cool. Um, it it's specifically really good for like back pain and back inflammation if you have back problems. Black beans is actually really good. Also adding turmeric in is another good anti-inflammatory, which I think most people know that. But black beans is actually a natural anti-inflammatory, which is kind of cool. There's so many different food is really medicine, and if we're putting more whole foods and proper foods in our body, it can do so many things to heal our body just alone. Um, and like really adding in all those different vegetables and legumes and those things that are still considered, they're still whole foods and not just relying everything on animal products is going to make your gut health so much better because they're a lot higher in fiber and they have a lot of inflammatory inflammatory I'm lost my word. Inflammatory benefits. That's what I was trying to say. Um, so adding those kinds of things in are super, super helpful. And then just doing those little quick things like getting the hemp hearts to throw in a smoothie or throw in your oatmeal or whatever makes a big difference because it really does bump up the protein quite a bit. Same with flaxseed, chia seeds. Those are such easy, just shake it on and, like instantly you've just bumped up your protein. It doesn't sound like a lot in a small amount, but realistically, when you add it to a meal, that like gets you over that hump. But it's also adding so many different other good nutrients. What else have you
I
been
did
struggling?
get,
Go ahead.
well, I got a rotisserie chicken at the beginning of the week, and then I tore off some pieces of chicken with my farmer's market vegetable meal.
That's
And then
smart.
I put balsamic glaze all over it, which is yummy.
Oh, I
And
bet.
then
I love balsamic.
the a little bit more chicken. I made a salad with the next night and just put some chicken in my salad. And then yesterday I boiled the carcass, made chicken broth, and got the rest of the chicken off. And today I made chicken noodle soup.
Oh, perfect. See, that's great. Yeah. So doing all those little things, and then I think for a lot of people too is like making a couple things during the week that you can like grab and go makes such a huge difference, especially like
Yeah.
your work schedule especially is so crazy. But then like it's crazy on its own, but then like other people are like, gone 5 days a week, but having those quick things that you can just grab and go or add to a smoothie or add to, their protein shake in the morning. I don't use the blender in the morning because it wakes everybody up personally. Overnight oats is another good one. The Costco one, it's 20
Yeah.
grams of
I've
protein.
been eating those.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. So all of those things are huge. Um, a little
Yeah. And
exercise.
it says you can make like a drink or like a more of a solid when you make the overnight oats.
Yeah.
But I don't really like to drink oatmeal, but
Mm-mm.
if you made it thin enough, it could be. But I added a whole bunch of fruit to mine and then did the overnight oats. And then it was super thick with the fruit
Oh,
and stuff.
yummy. I bet that was super good.
Yeah, because it's like glazed blueberry donut and then strawberries and cream is the two
Yeah,
flavors at Costco. And so I just added a whole bunch of strawberries to the strawberry cream and then a whole bunch of blueberries to the blueberry glazed donut. And
that's awesome. That's super yummy.
so that's
Um,
easy to go because you just mix it the night before and then you can bring it with you the next day and eat it for breakfast, eat it for lunch.
Right. Yeah, totally. It's such an easy thing. Like there's really not like we humans love to make excuses for why we can't do something, right? And like that's what like, well, I get so busy and I was one of those. I get busy and I don't eat all day. But really it's this learning those quick little hacks to um so that you do eat all day, even when you're not hungry. Like that's so important because if you're dropping down below your resting basal rate of calories, your weight loss is going to slow way down, um, and your body's
And
going
then
to
when
start
you
eating the
do eat,
muscle, huh?
yeah, and then when you do eat, your body hangs on to everything
Yep,
because it doesn't know when
100%.
you're going to get calories again because it's scared it's
Hmm.
going to go into starvation again. I have learned that the hard way, that
Me too.
eating less is actually worse.
And it kills your metabolism. It just totally
Yes,
kills it. And it can kill it really fast, but it takes a long time to fix it. So it's so important to be consistently eating. And I think it's really important to be doing like smaller little meals throughout the day than, three
absolutely.
big meals of really, I'm a grazer. I do better if I'm snacking on like little bits of things all day. Um, I feel better. My tummy feels better because I don't feel as full, being able to just snack on smaller things throughout the day. So I typically will take like a little bit of hummus and some vegetables, and almonds. And we didn't even talk about nuts and seeds, but another
Hmm.
easy thing to do. Like I, in the mornings, eat a banana with probably 2 tablespoons of peanut butter on it because that's 7 grams after I've had my protein shake, and it's giving me that potassium that's also important. Um, and that's kind of one of my go-tos first thing in the morning. Or sometimes I feel like that's too heavy, and I'll do celery with peanut butter. I take that to work with me a lot. Celery is so good for you too. It doesn't have high
And
protein.
I have noticed that, like, if it's really hard for you and you're busy all the time and you just need some kind of thing that you can open up your fridge and see that you can snack on while you're cooking a meal or something,
Mhm.
I have bought like the fruit or the vegetable trays, and then I just separate them into little baggies. And
Yep,
I figure at this point, it's worth it to have somebody cut my fruit for me. So I'll pay for
it
it.
is because if you're busy, like it's it's either that you're going to buy it and never cut it up and you're going to throw it out anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or it's going to be
Yep.
convenient and you're going to just go to and grab it because it's sitting there right in front of you and it's convenient. So
Yep.
I mean, people don't think about how much food waste goes, but I hate food waste and I try to use stuff. And as it goes bad, I try to like throw meals together that I can just like, I'll do a soup or I'll do a curry or whatever, just to use up what's in my fridge. But it's totally worth the money sometimes just to buy the pre-cut up veggie trays or fruit trays or whatever, because you're not going to
And
have to
that's what
worry
you were
about.
saying. Yeah, when you were saying like things were infused in your food, with good
Mhm.
feelings and stuff. When I buy the fruits and vegetables, I always say, you know what, you're worth it.
Yeah,
Instead of buying a bag of chips, you bought pre-cut up fruits or vegetables.
that's awesome. I love it. That's so good. Yeah, and I'm gonna post. There's some exercises that I put that down. That's maybe not for everybody, but they're kind of fun. I mean, like visualizing your meal in front of you, placing your hands on your heart, and saying, "Thank you for this nourishment. May this food energize my body, uplift my spirit, and align with my highest self." Like if you like having that, it just puts good vibration around you and the food. It's also like people don't think that things like this are important, but what's important about them is you're starting to rewire your brain by saying these things out loud. Um, and it's rewiring that old pattern that you had of, oh, well, if it's good, it's sugary, or if it's good, it's fattening, or if it's good, because our brains have been wired like that for so long. So when you do these infusing your meals or your water or whatever it is that you're putting in your mouth with some good intention, and you start doing that consistently, with just a few meals a day. But if you're doing it every day, what it's doing is it's rewiring that subconscious brain, and you feel good as you're doing it. And then your brain's going to remember that for the long term, that like, oh, that strawberry just made me feel so good when I ate it. Or that lentil bowl, man, like it's like, because it's like changing that energy flow. And so those are like super important, and just being mindful and grateful for that food. The other thing I love to do is, we've all heard like eat a rainbow, right? But really, like,
Right.
when you're
And they
preparing,
weren't talking about Skittles.
huh?
And they weren't talking about Skittles.
No. Yeah, no. That was what I like had fun doing my Southwestern bowl, because I was like, oh my gosh, it's totally like so pretty. It's got the purple from the sweet potato. It had, the reds and the yellows and the oranges from the peppers and the tomatoes, and then the white with the orzo, and then the green with the arugula at the end. And it was like literally a rainbow bowl of food. And so, like, looking at food as artwork and how healing it can be, when you look at your food, and the more vibrant it is, the more nutrients it typically has in it. And like, expressing gratitude for how that food looks, right? People don't think about that, but it really makes a difference when you're preparing your food. If you're looking at it as like, wow, this is beautiful. Like that picture you sent me of the farmer's market, it was beautiful. Was colorful. It was all those things. And so the more that we start noticing those little things, again, it's rewiring our brain to want those healthier things, because they look good, they look pretty, they look fresh, they look refreshing. And so, doing the infusing your food with energy and infusing it with intention really makes a big difference in rewiring your brain for the long term. So there's water, especially, is like, I love to just like think of my water when I first fill it up in the morning and just be like, it's going to clear any negativity. It's going to, hydrate my body, and just looking at it with that really grateful attitude. And it's funny because if you do it, to me, sometimes it actually tastes fresher, which is crazy. But it's crazy what we can, use our minds to do. Our minds are a pretty powerful thing. Um,
One other thing I like to do and prep in my fridge, and before I started GLP-1s, I never drank water, and
yeah,
now I can't get enough of it.
right. Good
I can't get
job.
enough of it. But
Yeah.
I chop up a lemon, a lime, and an orange just in slices or wedges, and I keep it in a bowl with some saran wrap on. And every time I get my water, I grab like one of each, and so it's yellow, green, and orange, and the
Oh, love
water.
it.
And I brought it to work one night in this great big clear water bottle, and somebody goes, "Oh, you have fancy water." And I went, "Yeah, I do.
Right. And
Fancy
I'm
water."
worth it to have fancy water,
Yeah.
right? All those things are so important, though, rewiring that brain. It really, like, whatever makes you feel fancy, if that's putting that stuff in the water, or other people think you feel fancy, more power to you, because you should feel fancy, because you 100% deserve to feel fancy with your water. Cucumber is another good one to add into the. I love
Oh
cucumber.
yeah.
Then adding some mint into the water, so
Hmm.
good. Those are all super like fun things to do. But it's like, it's funny how we think of those as like extra effort, when it's truly not extra effort at all to do those little steps. And really, like, doing those things does give us a different appreciation for food in the long run. We've Food's been so convenient to all of us. We don't really um, look at it the same as our ancestors did, where they were just so grateful for whatever food they could get, because they actually had to work for it, and we don't, you know?
Right.
Sorry, I'm texting someone really quick. I love that though. I need to start doing that. When you told me that before, I was like, oh, I need to do that. I need to go get some lemon and limes, because I love lemon in my water. Plus, lemon is so good for you. Well, and lime because it's natural electrolyte too. So it's really good for you.
And
I need to find
it's funny how many people are like, I need to do that.
Yeah, but we just don't. So that's going to be my goal for this week is to get some lemon and limes. I'm then going to cut them up and start putting them in my water. I mean, I like just plain water too. I'm a big water drinker, so water is not hard for me to get down. One of the other things I need to find it. I just ran across it the other day, and I need to add it into your guys's bonus section. But you can infuse, do make your own, basically like liquid IV, and it's using sea salt, and you soak the sea salt for I can't remember how long, and then you can just add like 1 teaspoon into like your flavored water, like what you're doing using like fruits or like I guess not vegetables, well yeah, cucumbers, into the water, and then it adds extra hydration like a liquid IV. And so I need to find that recipe and I'll add it into the bonus section. And I'll add it into your file too, because I was like, ooh, that's a great little tip because so many people are paying like big money for the like liquid IVs and stuff packaged, but really what it comes down to is it's like sea salt that they're adding in. So I thought that was a really
Yeah.
good,
I have one of those liquid IVs every day. And
yeah.
I have found I love the white peach and the
Mm.
rainbow sherbet.
Oh yeah, the rainbow sherbet one's really, really good. And they're easy, they're convenient, and they taste good. There's nothing wrong with using them. But for some people, like, they don't have the luxury of being able to afford them either because they are pricier. So,
Well,
um,
Gatorade comes in those packets too. You can mix in your
yeah,
water. So they have
totally.
a lot of that. Hmm.
Well, and two, the other thing about eating whole foods, it's a lot less expensive too. If you're not doing a bunch of, I mean, maybe not as much as it used to be, but you can buy bagged lentils and bagged beans for so cheap still to this day. And then even fruits and vegetables, it's really not that much when you're not adding in all that convenience food. And then the convenience food that you do want to add in, make it count, right? Like the chopped up vegetables and different things like that, like those are worth it because you're going to use through them more likely than throwing them out.
And I buy the spiralized zucchini and squash at Safeway. And then when I make spaghetti sauce to make for my husband, he gets noodles and I do it over
Love
the
it.
zucchini and the squash. I actually like it more now, the noodles.
Yeah, it's just you got to get used to them at first, and then I like them too. I think I don't know. There's a good recipe with using you can use a slicer and do zucchini for lasagna too. And it's really,
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
good. I love zucchini. Zucchini is so good. I think zucchini had I don't remember how much protein zucchini has either. Um, you can also for lasagna, instead of using all the cheese, use cottage cheese instead of ricotta cheese, which bumps up your protein. And if you did that with like zucchini, you'd be good for added protein.
I didn't hear you say anything about hearts of palm. Does that have protein? A lot of
Let me
protein?
look it up. I can't remember. I Hearts of Palm is a great. I use it for all sorts of little things. You can even make like pseudo um but I do believe it has a good decent protein content for the amount. Hold on, let me see here. Oh, oh, yeah, it's got a little bit. It's 2.7 grams, but it's super low fat and it's really, really low
Yeah.
calorie. So it's a good add-in, but it still has a little bit of protein um to it. I was looking for my high protein veggie thing. Hold on. Oh, no, don't do that. My computer's being really slow. Well, that's annoying. Don't do that. Ah, oh my gosh. There we go. Okay, so there it is. Okay, so let's see. Artichokes, 1 cup of canned artichoke hearts has 10 grams of protein. I love artichoke hearts. I add them into my pastas and all that kind of stuff. It also has 20 grams of fiber. Artichokes do. So artichokes is like another little power food. for protein and protein. Potatoes with the skin have 4 grams of protein. They're also high in vitamin C, which people don't realize that potatoes actually have really high vitamin C. So they're really good this time of year when everybody's sick. They also have a good amount of potassium and iron both. Asparagus is another one with 4.3 grams of protein. Um, it's also rich in vitamin C and K. Broccoli, one medium stalk of cooked broccoli contains 4 grams of protein. So that's like 130% of your daily value for vitamin C, too. So broccoli is like a powerhouse food. Brussels sprouts, 1 cup of Brussels sprouts is 4 grams of protein. But you're talking like one medium stock. So like if you did a bunch of cooked broccoli and like filled your plate with broccoli, like that is a decent, you can get like 10 grams of protein, right? Easily with broccoli. Sweet corn, 5 grams of protein. People
And
forget, huh?
do you know at Red Robin you can substitute fries for broccoli?
No, that's good to know though.
Yeah, with like any of their burgers or anything. I always get
I
a
love
side of broccoli, and then because my kids work there, so I'm like, just bring me 2 fries, but the rest broccoli.
Yeah, so yummy. Oh my gosh. Sweet corn is 5 grams of protein for a cup. Like people always are like, "Oh, corn, it's starchy, it's whatever," but no, it actually is really good for you and it has decent amount of protein. Peas have 8 grams of protein. Peas are really high in protein. I add peas into a lot of stuff just because they're so high in protein. Spinach, 1 cup cooked spinach is 5 grams. Kale is about 3.5 grams. Collard greens is 5 grams of protein per cup. That's cooked. Chickpeas, we already talked about chickpeas. Black beans, lima beans, lentils. Split peas have high protein, 6 grams of protein. Um, and so any of those things, especially if you like to do soups or any of those things, you could add in, do a stew with meat and then add in some lentils or some, chickpeas or whatever, and then add in your broccolis and whatever. And that soup is actually really highly nutritious with lots of protein. People forget how much protein all those other little veggies have. And I'm all about artichokes. I could eat artichokes all day long. So that's all my little high protein hacks for today. Sounds like you're doing good. How much are you down now? Total.
2024.
Nice. That's so exciting.
Yeah.
Can you do you feel less heavy finally or no?
Yeah, I do.
That's good.
And people are starting to really notice too.
That's exciting. Yeah, I feel like that first 20 pounds is like when people are like, oh, you're losing weight. And I feel like you can start to notice and like just the movement. I mean, you've been there, done this before. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like 20 pounds is like that first little, okay, like here, like we're doing this. You know what I mean? It's like that
Mm-hmm.
first little major hump, I feel like. Um,